Hello, friends. Welcome to Tanked Up, the podcast all about video games and craft beer. It's episode 255. I'm one of your hosts, Ben, joined by Lucy.
I'm not your friend, buddy.
Not your buddy pal.
And the buddy to boot.
Not your guy.
And everybody's guy. Aadil.
Hey,
Guy.
I'm here. I can be your friend.
Good.
I'll be your pity friend.
Oh, the pity friend. Love that. Thanks. Good. As always, we are going to drink some beers and we're going to talk about video games as we do each and every week. Let's start with you, Lucy. You drinking this week? What you got on?
I am indeed.
This week? Okay. Good.
I'm drinking something different as well.
Ooh.
A cider.
Oh.
Cider.
I have no idea of the quality of said cider.
Are you down in the West Country by any chance?
No. I'm not allowed to leave the house.
No, that's true, yeah.
Even before.
And that's not because of COVID, exactly. Yeah.
Other reasons which will not be mentioned. This is called Alska. A-L-S-K-A. It's a cloudy Sicilian lemon premium cider. It's vegan friendly. 4%. As I said, we'll get onto the reason why. In fact, I'll just say it now. The game that we're going to talk about, the developer is kind enough to send some codes over. And he said that he's more of a cider guy.
Okay.
So I was like, let me try one of these ciders that are in the house that I didn't purchase. Because I don't know anything about cider.
That's fair.
And I've never actually ever seen this brand. So it's going to be a mystery. It's going to be exciting. See what it's like. Because I'm not much of a cider fan anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I hope I'm not doing an absolute disservice to anyone, any cider fans, by drinking this. Because, as I say, it says premium cider, but
Usually when things say premium,
yeah, I drank premium beer out of the supermarket and, had gut rot for the rest of the day. So
Yes.
You might try drinking beer out of a can, a glass, or a bottle instead.
That's a good idea. As you'll find on the back, it says something ridiculous like made by Thatchers. There's only like 2 cider manufacturers in the whole country. They're on our doorstep, but yes, hopefully it's a little independent maker. I mean, there's lots of cider. Even Bottles and Books, they do a reasonable amount of ciders. That's actually how Lewis started out in booze. I seem to remember.
I didn't know that.
He used to do a cider box. The moment I've been a subscription, but yes, he used to sell ciders.
Yeah.
Neat.
I've always been interested in having like good craft cider. So,
I mean, next time you come to Bristol, between craft cider and just like quality, but like old, like there's the oldest craft cider pub up by the bridge that everyone has to go to when they come to Bristol. That is, I mean, it's a very tasty cider. So they usually have, like, I would say at least 6 different things on tap, if not more, probably more, and some real like hefty weighted proper ABV numbers as well. Yeah.
Yeah, we went up the Corrie tap when my years
the Coronation taps.
Yeah, years and years ago when my mum and her partner came to Bristol. Kim and I said, well, before Evelyn, like, let's go and hang out in Clifton and around that sort of area. And we took them to the Corrie tap and we must have spent 3 or 4 hours there. We were absolutely just gone, completely gone. And we were drinking halves, so we could try different ciders, and it's just
My friend Diane came to visit with 2 of her friends because basically they had friends in Cardiff getting married, and half of them were from Canada, and they were coming back because they were teachers who taught in various parts of England and Wales, and met these people. And then they went home, and then it was a marriage, the wedding. So they were like, cool, well, I'll come. So they made a trip of it and tried to bounce to see all the people they knew, and so they bounced to Bristol and for like a day, and I was like, and then I was, one of them didn't like beer. I'm like, do you like cider? And it's like, I got a place for you. And yeah, it got similarly. All four of us were just like, how has this become what it is? Like,
Yes,
you could a night at the Corey, or the afternoon at the Corey Taps is dangerous.
Yeah.
That's a thing I'm looking forward to doing. When the walls come down. Being a tourist in your own city again, like, oh, that's a place. Fuck it, yeah, I'll go to that place. I'm not just gonna go to my usual. I might just go to my usual haunts.
Yeah.
Oh, usual haunts sounds really great too.
I know, yeah. I think the people who run my usual haunts think I'm dead. So
yeah, I'm just not gonna come. I'm just gonna do everything but be at home, right? Just gonna be like, did you go on your 4th pub crawl this week? Well, technically, it's the 1st. Never stopped.
Yeah.
Just had a slight power nap in between.
Yeah, I just sort of wandered the streets while the pubs were closed.
Yeah.
I can do it.
It's not like the old days where we used to finish work at 2 a.m. where bar work used to finish work, head to somewhere and drink until 5, and they kicked us out. Hang out, go back to our pub, sit in there for an hour, and then go to the pub down the road that opened at 6 because they did breakfast, and then then go back to our pub at 10, clean it, get ready for opening at midday, and then those of us who'd worked went home, slept, and then turned back up at 7 to like work again. Just rotate that every weekend, 3 nights every weekend.
That sounds like something young people do.
Well, I was young at the time. I was
yes, I
absolutely
know.
young at the time. And
I'm just saying. That does not sound like something we can do.
That is the time that I drank a lot of cider. And can't drink that much cider no more. But we'll see how yours is, Lucy, when we roll back around. Aadil, what are you going to be drinking first tonight?
This thing. It's a beer.
Good. I'm going to open it.
No, actually, this is it's from S43. Which I haven't had in a long time, and it is the Revenge of the Pith.
Nice.
Cool.
It's part of one of their Star Wars beers. Ish. Obviously not Star Wars.
I mean, S43 really skirt that line of copyright, don't they? I know they got done by Snickers for one of the beers that they
I think they did,
produced, but yeah, they're very close.
Yeah, it's a grapefruit and blood orange West Coast IPA.
Mm-hmm.
It is 6.7%. It has Falconer's Flights, Cascade, Centennial, Simcoe, Chinook, Cascade, Cryo hops, which is a lot.
Yeah.
It's got extra pale Vienna wheat and caramel malts. The yeast is California Ale 001, and it has both grapefruit and blood orange puree. Canned on December 15th, good till September 15th.
Nice.
So, haven't had an S43 in a long time.
Yeah.
So I thought, cool.
Perfect.
Let's drink some Star Wars.
Have you been to a bottle shop to find S43, or is it?
Yeah, so they had a couple of them, just the other Star Wars one that they've recently released at Redland Stores, which is basically just off of Gloucester Road.
Yeah.
But, on this side of the arches. No, sorry. It's basically the turn before the arches if you're heading from Baldwin's and Books, or the turn after the arches if you're heading from town.
Yes.
Yeah. Just yeah.
Perfect.
So nice and close. They've got a good selection and slightly different from some of the other places around me. So I've been popping there a little more frequently because it's closer than Bottles and Books, but also I know you go there, so it's nice to make sure there's some variety. Definitely.
Yeah, good. Again, more variety for us this evening as well. I am going to open up a beer from... I'm gonna go a bit backwards this week. I'm going to drink the higher ABV beer first. I'm going to drink a beer from Newtown Park, who are one of the newest breweries
towns in the park.
One of the newest breweries in Bristol, only opening up a few
Another one?
months ago. So we've got another new brewery in Bristol, which is brilliant. And they are brewing in Left-Handed Giant's old brew space because Left-Handed Giant moved. So this is you don't have to outrun the bear. It's a West Coast IPA, 7.2%. Yeah, lots of contours.
Get that, run your mate.
On the lots of contours on the can. It is a nice can. I've had one beer from Newtown Park before. It was very nice. I think it was just an IPA, so I thought I'd try something a bit different. This says, paying homage to the West Coast with its deep amber colour, subtle malt character, and classic combination of hops, all backed with the bitterness to match. It's got Centennial, Citra, and Simcoe in. They don't give us any more info than that. It does say it's vegan, and it's 7.2%. So I will crack this. I'm going to drink it in my left-hand giant glass because that kind of links things, sort of.
It's also your favorite glass. I mean, let's be honest.
True. Yeah, I mean, it is. Oh, it's not that one, Lucy. I've gone for this one this evening.
I think yours.
The pint one.
No, it's not a pint. It's the 2/3.
Oh, I just have generic clear pint glass.
It's all right. Lucy, we'll come back to the cider. Is this the first time we've had a cider?
On the pod?
I might have had one before. I think I had one once. No idea what episode that would have been, but yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
I've had one once.
It's not a tanked up first. Maybe.
No, I don't think.
Right.
Well,
how is it?
Can tell.
I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
No, it's fine. Just, it's got a lovely smell. Like, it's carbonated, as you'd imagine. Like, when I poured the glass, I had to put in my other headphones because all I could hear was the bubbles just from, like, over there. Just going. But yeah, really nice. Where's that smell? Apples. Yeah, like slightly elderflower, like kind of smell to it. It's really nice.
Nice. It's got a very, very light lemon kind of squash colour to it.
Yeah, absolutely, like really diluted squash. That's really nice. That's really soft.
Good.
Like, because one of the things that I don't like about most ciders that I've tasted is that it's just that harsh, taste to it. That really cutting, like almost acrid taste to it. Some of them. Yeah, this doesn't taste like metallic or anything. It's got a nice, just flowery floral aroma, and that carries through to the taste.
What's the carbonation?
Like
what's the carbonation like on it?
It's gone now. Most of it because it's been sat for a while, but you are still getting a bit. Yeah, you're still getting quite a fair bit of carbonation. It's nice. It makes it like really crisp and refreshing. I think it's not heavy at all. It's really light, but it still carries that those flavors really well.
Good. I think that's key for cider, to have that kind of middle ground, not to be like the mass-produced kind of ciders, which are just carbonated to all hell, or you go the complete opposite end and it is the flattest thing that you have ever drank.
No, this is pretty much down the middle in that respect.
Nice.
Like still getting a bit up the glass. I mean, I've opened the bottle for a bit now, but yeah, still getting a bit of carbonation. I'm really enjoying this, to be honest. It's like, this is good. Like, as I said, I don't really have many ciders like that. I think probably the one I've probably had the most over the years is Recorder Leg, and this is this very much packs that like that fruitiness that those try and get across, but it doesn't feel as sweet, which is nice, because like really sweet ciders, like I'm not particularly fond of like really dry ciders, but the really sweet ones are just too much as well. So this pairs back the sweetness a bit. So it's good. It's nice. I'm really enjoying it.
Good.
Excellent.
We'll see how swiftly it disappears
It's gonna go quick.
What was the
honestly,
percentage
because
again?
it hasn't even got like that, all that combination. You get all that gassiness either.
Mhm.
So really easy.
What was the percentage?
4.
Okay, so nice and light to
I'm
start.
I'm gonna Google these Alska. I think Alska it said it in Swedish means love, I believe.
Okay.
So it seems like it's from Aldi,
Oh,
which explains it. But yeah, this is nice, and they do other flavors by the looks of it. So is
brilliant.
this the lemon one?
Mhm.
Yeah, this is the Sicilian lemon. So they do.
Ooh.
Looks like they do kiwis. Kiwi, peach. I'm not sure if you'd like that, Ben. Berries. Yeah, I like this. This is good.
Nice. Good. Good.
This could be like the cheapest lager that's around, but I'm enjoying it. So it's good.
Perfect.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
fine,
that-
as long as that's
As
all
we
that
always
matters.
say, it's about what tastes good to you, not what's
Yes, exactly.
the magic thing that everyone must agree is the best.
Absolutely. Aadil, we'll jump back to you then for the Revenge of the Pith.
Yep. So as you can see, it's very orange, but translucent. You can't quite see any motion behind. Just a little bit of shadowing, a little bit ahead, but like even from here, getting those citrus notes just wafting straight to my nose. Definitely more grapefruit than blood orange, I would say, but that's kind of not surprising, just because blood orange is sort of a slightly tartar orange, which grapefruit's just going to do that and then some. Ooh, it's nice and smooth in its texture. You can tell it's 6.5%. Oh. I haven't trimmed my mustache. I'm getting head caught on it. Sorry, I got caught off guard first by just the deep grapefruit going on. It's got that grapefruit sourness or tartness. So I was a little worried, just because there's 1,000,001 hops in this. And actually, they seem to be blending quite well. And I think because and like the finish goes from quite like a moment of really almost piney but really bitter, and then it gets a little sweeter afterwards. And I think actually that's the primary role the blood orange is probably playing, is just to smooth it out and make it less deeply bitter. And there's just, like I said, a moment, at least a few sips in, maybe it'll smooth out once my palate gets used to it. But there's just this moment where it's like a gap, and you're like, oh wow, that's really bitter, and then you're like, oh, that really bitterness has gone away. Okay. I mean, it's a West Coast IPA. It sort of starts traditionally West Coast, and then, like I said, it drops down into this very strong grapefruity bitterness, and it eases off a bit. I think I'm a little disappointed that I can't notice any individual hop or any specific tastes coming out of that, and that might just because the aim was to sort of bring everything together in this sort of grapefruit blood orangey taste. It's doing that part really well, but it's kind of like nothing else is in there, and I know they put a lot of extra like stuff in here, right? Yeah. This isn't like a single hop with grapefruit puree. It's like it's very good. It's very refreshing. This would have been perfect earlier today when it was sunny out, but not super warm, because it's got a bit more girth from the 6.5%. It's not like super tropically, but it's really refreshing, and like that grapefruit is giving it a bit of a crispness. So it's like it's like good early spring, refreshing. I'm in the sun. I'm not quite at summer. It's giving me a bit more oomph while still being refreshing and crisp. Yeah.
Nice. Good. So the Newtown Park. So I'm having a West Coast IPA first, something a bit higher ABV wise than the other beer I've got for two reasons. One, Aadil's also having a West Coast IPA, but it'd be quite nice to match up. But secondly, I've already had an IPA this evening. It was a bit higher, 7%, from Electric Bear, and it was a very, very malty, slightly bitter beer. So I didn't then want to jump to the lower ABV IPA and then back to a sort of a West Coast IPA. I thought I'd try and train it through a little bit more, rather than losing the other beer that I've got a little bit in between those two. So the Newtown Park, it is, as you kind of would expect from a West Coast IPA, different to Aadil's, but this is very clear, very bronzy. I had a little bit of carbonation to the head, not a huge amount to it.
Yeah, I think that's the role of the puree, making it
Yes.
more cloudy than this traditional West Coast.
Yeah. The nose is very, very light. A little bit of malt on there. Sort of more of a toffee kind of smell to it.
Mhm.
Ooh, shit, that's lovely. A little bit of carbonation, which kind of fizzes in the mouth straight away. And you do have that toffee, but it's very, very smooth. And it's sat in there with just a sweet, a hint of sweetness in there as well, which I think might be the sort of more of the Citra and the Simcoe, giving you a little bit more of a tropical fruity, a very sweet tropical fruity flavour, matching up with that deeper maltiness to it. There's also this lovely dank bitter finish into a bitterness as well, which I'm guessing comes from the Centennial, a little bit of the Simcoe as well. That's just too easy. That's very, very easy. But the nose gives like nothing away at all, and then you're just presented with this kind of, not an explosion of flavour, but it's a very big flavour. It's lovely. There's those sweet tropical fruits, getting a little bit more of stone fruit in there as well. Maybe edging towards more of a softer sort of stone fruit, maybe a little bit more sort of apricot peachy than, say, mango. But it does then, again, as I say, have that little bit of sweetness in there too. What's this interesting? There's lots of different kinds of little bits all merging together to give me this lovely flavour running through. And again, another sip sort of suggests that it doesn't have that flow. So it's not sort of, here are the fruits, here are the malts, here is the bitterness. Apart from maybe that dank bitter finish, which does creep up, everything kind of is presented quite quickly as almost like one unified sort of flavour. And you can pick those bits out, but they all work very well and they're balanced very well together to just be incredibly pleasant. Very, very, very tasty. And I'm loving that dank bitter finish as well. That's exactly what I want from a West Coast IPA. I want it to leave me a little bit dry, a little bit dank, a little bit bitter, and then sit there and invite me to come back for those nice upfront flavours that this is presenting. I'm super impressed with Newtown Park. Again, I've only had 2 beers from them. I had an IPA previously. I think I tweeted about that, so I could have a look back and see what that was at some point this evening. But yeah, 2 very good beers from them so far. Hopefully, with them then being in Left-Handed Giant's old premises, this might be another brewer included in the East Bristol Brewery Trail when that all kicks off again. We'll get to a point where there's so many we can't actually visit all of them in one day. We'll have to do both days.
It won't be divided by like east and west. It'll just be, the one's on this corner, one's on this street, random street.
Exactly. Yeah. And you know, with the East Bristol Brewery, so you can do the optimum route. Start more and work your way around the estate. We'll see when it all opens up again, what hijinks trouble we can get into with all of these different people. But let's jump into our topics. Talk about some games for this evening whilst we enjoy these beers. And I suppose first we should jump straight into the game we've all played, especially with you being on the cider at the moment, Lucy. The one of the reasons for having a cider this evening. Do you want to kick us off, Lucy?
Yeah, it's a game called Out of Sight, and just like a couple of weeks ago when we were all playing Tiny Lands, we're all playing another hidden object game. It's quite similar to Tiny Lands, so it's kind of funny. But yeah, these little 3D dioramas that you can zoom in on, rotate. Basically, just hidden object. You're finding these things that are placed in the environment. I found most of the times that the actual objects make sense where they are in respect to everything else. But I'm not sure if I've got as far as you two, but so far I've been into like in a forest, in a house, and just these really nice, well-made little dioramas, just all telling a story, kind of. And it's just one of those relaxing games. It's just like, the Tiny Lands was more spot the difference. This is just very much, okay, where's Wally? You have to find it. And,
I think I one of the things I wanted to say was I really liked how it's not, the things are in the right sort of places. I found that very, so the whole thing is a much calmer experience. I feel like it's very sort of Zen spun, and I think it helps, especially when you've been doing it for a bit. Your brain's starting to slow down. It's really nice to be like, okay, where would this thing be? And the weirdest thing I really had was like a banana on a park bench, which plausible, right? Right, but outside of that, you're right. It's just these things are in like plausible, reasonable places. It is not, which is really important, I think, given that some of them are very small.
Yes,
I think the hardest one for me was in one of the forest levels. Oh, sorry. The other thing I liked is that the levels kind of come in waves. There's like 3 or 4 in the forest camping variety ones, and then there's a bunch in like an office / like software developer, just based on like the things on the walls and stuff. And like all these areas have a pretty good character, especially these later levels in like the HR and sales and like the office. You're like, this might have just been walking down and like drawing your dev area or something. But a weird one for me was like there's a matchbox on a stone in one of the camping forest levels. But the whole point of it was like the bits from the camping stuff are kind of spread out in a way that like someone might have stashed their sleeping roll. Yeah. And so but like that box of matches was like actually on a very well lit stone. It was very obvious something was on it. So even when it was like kind of, is that plausible? It was not like fuck you difficult. And I actually found some of the hardest ones were in obvious places. They were just hard for me. Like basically there's one thing in almost every single one that I'm like, but there's a few that like I don't zoom in on at all. I'm just like, I can get 3 or 4 without doing anything.
Yeah, because they make sense where they are. Yeah.
Well, and you also can like pattern recognize, like, oh, a rat. It'll probably be there's the rat. Yeah. And that's very satisfying. Not having like, I think that's a really smart thing for these types of games, having eagle eye spotting, because you feel good, right? You're like, I didn't have to zoom in at all, and I found that one, and I found that one, and I found that one. Look at me go.
I must say that I started it on my Surface tablet, and I was just like, my eyes aren't good enough for this. So I went back to my main PC, because some of those items do get really small. What I appreciate from a gameplay, just quality of life perspective is, not to harken back to Tiny Lands, but rotating the world in Tiny Lands, it was could be a bit slow and laborious, whereas in this game it gives you the settings where you can have like slow, medium, and high, like sensitivity to the mouse and
the things we were kind of griping about.
Yeah,
and like saying, "Oh, it would be good if this had it," and you're like, "Now there's this other game and it has it."
Yes, yeah. With Tiny Lands, where you could only zoom in and it took you to the center of the image, whereas this you can pan and zoom and it gives you more freedom kind of around that space. I'm kind of echoing everything that you sort of have already said, but there's been a couple that I have skipped. So you only have to find a certain amount before you can then jump to the next little diorama. And so far, I skipped a hot dog. Just couldn't find it in a park street.
I know exactly which level that is. Yep.
And there's another one, which is the one that I haven't found a floppy disk. It's the first time I've seen a floppy disk. I haven't found that one yet, so that's where I have come out of the game.
That's the last one on that level that it took me to find.
Yep. And what another thing that I kind of appreciate is a lot of the things that you find. It does kind of build you up. So yes, it gives you sort of sets of places. So it's like, now we're internal, kind of in office sort of spaces. Find these 4 things. You move to the next one. Find these 6 things, 2 of which you had to find in the previous map. So it does recycle a few of the assets and a few of the things that you need to find on a couple of the levels, which is absolutely fine, because it's, again, giving you kind of maybe that easy win. You're like, oh, I know what this is. I know exactly. As soon as I'm panning around, I'm more likely to see that without thinking about it or searching too far, because my mind is already recognizing what that is. And I think that's really good then, to get you to hunt for the rest of the things and be like, yep, cool, got that one. Yep, cool, I've got that one. This game is absolutely gorgeous as well.
Yeah. It does look nice, yeah.
Like Thailand, the lighting is just brilliant. I think it just works so well, like on some of those street scenes. And again, we said the same about Tiny Lands, where it moves you between a full naturally lit sort of space, and then it will take you to a nighttime scene, or then it will take you inside and it's kind of artificial light. It does those sorts of things very, very well.
Yeah, it's just nice to look at. Like when you're looking at something for so long, it's just it's nice just to see, like, turn the shadows all the way up in the settings like that, and just
I didn't even touch the settings, actually. I just kind of played it and thought it was good looking and gorgeous. There is a score you get on each level. And it has a multiplier type thing, if you notice, because like at the end it'll be like 4.4, 4.8, which was roughly what I was getting, 4 point something, because I think out of 5s.
Yep.
And then there's a level I got 2.2 on, right? Because it was just like it was this one thing. And so, Ben, you're a better man than I. We know this over and over about my approach to games versus yours, and your willingness to just do the thing, and my stubbornness. I have not skipped a single thing.
Yep.
And I stopped playing it once because I was like stuck on a thing. I was like, well, can't leave this level. Have a thing to find.
I
came back to it like
every time.
I know. But I came back to it. It was that fucking hot dog. And I came back to it a little bit later. I think I played it. Yeah, so I came back to I played it mostly yesterday, and then I came back to it this morning. Or that could have been this morning, and then after I ate. Time is an illusion in these COVID times.
Yeah.
There was a break in. My brain had a refresher, and a couple of things. When you restart a level, you have to find all the things again.
Oh, okay.
But I don't. They're not always in the same place.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I figured you guys didn't know this. Yeah, so on that hot dog level, the football was down the subway. You have to open the doors and then click on the football. It was the American football.
Yes,
was down the subway, and then so I was like you know, I don't, even if I know these games, I try and just like find them, right? I don't try because that's the point. And then I was like clicking through. I'm like, oh right, the football's there. I'll just get it. And I'm like, it's not there. And the banana wasn't on the bench. Banana was now on a tabletop. And I was like, oh no, this game still and everything was still in plausible places, and half the stuff was still like the trash pile in that level was still where the trash pile was, which is just sort of near the hot dog cart. So I think what they've done is a couple assets have a couple different spawn locations.
Interesting.
And some maybe don't. Maybe they all do, and I just sort of, you know,
on that level for me, the American football was under a bush in the park.
Yeah, I think that's might have been where I found. I can't remember where the second place it was. And the hot dog was, you had to eat the camera on the hot dog cart just so, and it was past the mustard and ketchup, and it was kind of on a little shelf,
just hidden by the umbrella or something.
Yes, but the thing is, I found it then, but I was just like, wait, I swear I tried to look there, and then because I now learned a thing about the game, which is things can move around. I was like, did I just miss it before when I was really hunting for it, or was it there the whole time and I missed it and now I found it? I will never know. And that bothers me immensely. It's like,
haunt you for the rest of your day.
I'm happy I found it, but also, did I miss it, or did I miss it here, or did I miss it somewhere else? But I really, that's such a nice touch, even if it's just one or two things, flipping spots.
That's cool.
Because then it gives you that
replayability. Yeah.
But also even just single playthrough, but like I didn't finish a level. You can't just be like, oh, in my short-term memory, I remember these 5 locations, so these 7 objects. I'm really just gonna rush back through. It's like, wait, I have to start hunting again more than I thought, which I found really cool, and such a smart thing to add to this type of game.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
The other thing I wanted to mention, which I'm just going to mention and let you guys talk about it, is the music.
I just gone onto Steam to jump on
the soundtrack.
Jump on the page because I remembered reading a post which gave the name of the composer, which is Purple Cat. Because again, I wanted to bring that up. And Lucy, you and I talked about it earlier, that it is ridiculously chill, lo-fi beats.
So good.
It's so, just so chilled that I could easily see myself, and the game gives you a screensaver mode. In fact, you don't have to play the game; it will rotate around the diorama and just play that music. And I could so easily just sit here and work and have that on in the background. It's really, really good, and it fits kind of the idea of of that hidden object game as well. It doesn't make you rush. There's no sense of urgency to it. It's kind of not like Tiny Lands, which felt that it was matching its and did it very well, kind of matching its soundtrack to the set of dioramas that it had. And we keep coming back to Tiny Lands. It is a slightly different game.
I mean, they're very similar.
They are very similar, yes. Just a slightly different kind of mechanic to take you through the diorama. But it just loops through, plays the next track, and it's just so easy to kind of chill to. And this is, like, again, we come back to these games that, or come back to the categories that we discussed at the end of the year, and this, like, Lucy, this like cozy cup of tea game. This is absolutely that. You could just sit for 5 minutes with a cup of tea, with a beer, with a coffee, whatever you want, and play
no drink at all. Be wild.
I mean, absolutely no drink, and just sit here for 5 minutes, chill out, take a break from what you're doing, and then go back to work or go back to whatever it is that you wanted to kind of have that little bit of a break from, and put your mind to use in a different way. Yeah, absolutely.
Like, the reason I haven't played more of it is because I know if I start playing it, I'll probably just be in such a zen state where I don't want to go back to work or anything.
That's why you just have to be stubborn, because then if you can't skip, then at some point you just have to take a break.
Yeah.
A frustrated break. Yeah, and don't do what I do.
No, I would just, like, like go back to the menu and just say, need a fresh pair of eyes, and go back to it. But yeah, the soundtrack, it's just like, you know, the lo-fi chill beats YouTube playlist that you know, I often listen to whilst I'm working. So yeah, it's got a really nice sound to it. Yeah, I can't wait to play more of it. I want to have the perfect setup of just have a nice cup of tea, have the time to play it, and then just, you know, chill out. What I really like as well is how they hide these little ducks, these rubber ducks.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I didn't realize until I saw the achievement that was a thing. Because I noticed them, I just didn't think anything about them because they weren't on the list.
Yeah,
because I'm too structural.
It's like those kids' books where it's like, is it Where's Duck? Is that what's the name of the kids' books?
Was it?
Was that what it is? It's when you, it was like Hidden Object, the book. It wasn't Where's Wally? It was more kids. Yeah, but there was a duck.
Okay.
I mean, probably.
I really liked that touch. This is just like Where's Duck.
I like how when you click on the duck, it gives you sort of this party noise, this stream that comes out of the top of it with confetti. Yeah, it's very good.
Just because we keep mentioning Tiny Lands, and for those who maybe didn't know or don't know what it is, or didn't heaven forbid didn't listen to that episode where we talked about it, it's basically a diorama 3D world that you can rotate around and hunt, but what you're trying to do instead, it's like split screen, and it's ostensibly the same diorama, but really there's a handful of differences, and you're trying to find them. So it's a lot more looking back and forth and moving around and trying to compare. It's a different part of your brain, but a very close part of your brain that it's trying to do right. And like Ben said, you know, the music we have like very thematic levels. Like there's, you know, Halloween-y type cemetery stuff, some camping, some of like medieval fights, I think, and it scratches the same type of itch, but in a very different way. Listen to insert episode title here to find out more, especially our gripes with the camera stuff, because I think that will illuminate how well done the camera is here. The other thing I wanted to ask via the segue to camera is, how did you guys choose to control it?
I found it a bit finicky at the start, but then after like 5 minutes, I just got so used to it. It was just like.
But like, what did you use, mouse or keyboard?
I used the mouse.
Yeah. I used both. So I wazzed around, but I zoomed in and out with the mouse wheel.
Yeah. I did something similar to that, except for a while I was using kind of like an MMO style, the clicks to rotate, and then I found Q and E, I think it is, better just because it's so smooth. But I also sometimes was moving with the mouse. I kind of just, it was really interesting because it was, at first it was like, I'll use the mouse, and then I was like, oh, let me try the keyboard. Oh, it works pretty well, but zoom on the scroll wheel is just slightly better. And then I found it like in the middle of like I was gonna say episodes, levels, I was kind of jamming both at the same time, even the same types of functionality. I would sometimes switch. Like I just was so into the game that I was like, I can do it here or here, and left hand decided to do the zoom before right hand did or whatever. And I find that really odd. I've never really had a game split me, but in a cooperative way, in the way I control it. I mean, I'm very structurally thinking normally, so I thought it'd be just like, okay, I like this one better, and then, you know, other hand would go away. But actually I found it sometimes it was just like, you know, I think it's because like when I was panning around with the key, a Q and E and WASD, it made sense to zoom in with the camera. But if I was like, I want to hunt over here, I was kind of just doing like minimal WASD work, and then it was like RNF right there. It seems like I don't know. It made sense in my brain. Well, I did it. I don't know if it made sense.
I mean,
but I find that really interesting, but also shows just how good the controls are.
Absolutely. That it allows you that freedom to be able to kind of do those things, and just allows your brain to be like, this is more comfortable now, and this is how I will do it. It's not pick this one or that one. It is both of these will work.
Yeah.
Do
Yeah.
whatever
Yeah,
you
which is
feel
nice.
comfortable with.
Yeah. The name of the books, because this is very important.
Yes.
Oh yeah, the duck
It was a
books.
series, and it was just called, this duck called Duck.
Hmm.
There's Duck in Trouble, Duck on Holiday. Written by Philip Hawthorne and illustrated by Stephen Cartwright.
Perfect.
Yes, so buy your
Hidden
kids
object
this random duck
books.
book.
Good. I
It's
shall
very
look out
important.
for them.
Mhm.
Evelyn loved. What's the other one? Hidden Through Time.
Yes.
Yeah, she loved playing that
Oh,
on the
that's good.
PlayStation. So she's well into these like hidden books. She's got a unicorn one that she goes back to, and she's like, oh, "It's here." I'm like, yes, you know it's there. You've looked at this page 12
Yeah,
or 15
but,
times.
I find that a like kids developing skills, but also
Learning how to
teasing
lie.
skills.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Oh,
It's such a it's I find it extremely charming because you can see their brain doing things that they're not sure, but also I don't know, it's just very interesting.
absolutely. As a very slight aside, it was my wife Kim's birthday last week. So
Oh, that wife of yours.
Yes, that
Sorry,
one.
I wasn't sure which of your wives.
people,
Your wife
listeners
Kim.
may not know who Kim is.
Yeah.
So we made Evelyn and I made her a birthday cake.
Oh, who's Evelyn? I mean, if you're going to name all the people.
So my
His second wife.
4-year-old daughter Evelyn and I made my wife Kim a birthday cake. And
I saw the picture on Instagram. It looked great.
And we baked it when she got home from school, but Kim came home about an hour and a little bit after. So we'd baked the first tin's worth, and we were baking the second tin's worth to go on top. And Kim came in, and instantly Evelyn turned around and said, "We're baking banana bread." And Kim went, "Well, that's not the normal thing you bake banana bread in, because we've got a bread tin loaf that we bake banana bread in." And everyone, "Oh no, it's banana bread 2.0. And I'm like,
That's adorable! 2.0?
Where has
Rebooted.
this come from? Like, but she so quickly just lied.
Yeah.
I'm like, brilliant.
Straight up.
Like, I don't know what we've done, but she's just been able
It's
to
inevitable.
fabricate this story so quickly in her mind. I don't know whether she had this thought previously about, well, what if Mum comes in and we have to do this and blah 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 blah. blah. But it was like
I'm
just
sure it's
on her feet.
it's just knowing,
instant.
like understanding surprises and being
Yes. Oh, very much. Yeah, completely. It's not.
like banana bread. I mean,
Yeah. And
unless
you'll
that's
long
nothing
for
you'd
yeah.
go on.
I was just going to say you'll long for the days when she's lying about banana bread and not other things. So enjoy
Yes.
it now.
Yes, that's true. Absolutely.
When E lies about E.
Yeah. have either of you got any final thoughts on Out of Sight before we move on?
I really enjoy it, and I think the lo-fi music helps because. So what I find interesting is there's a score, and there's clearly a multiplier, and if you care, you could rush and try and get through, and I just don't care. I'm stubborn. I want to find all the things before I leave the place, but I don't care how fast I find the things.
I
I find it great that it allows people who want to optimize or rush. It gives them a metric, but it's so like like when the multiplier comes down and it's like 4.8, it's just there in the corner, and you could miss it for 3 levels. And I think that's really good game design,
yeah, very
because
much, yeah.
the game's like target is, I think, what we're doing, which is like, I don't give a shit. You could just not have the score.
Yeah.
But if you are a person who wants to score, here it is. And then if you're paying attention to the score, within a couple of levels, you'll notice that the number has flipped. And then you're like, I got to go faster because that number dropped.
So I don't know if it's speed, because I got a 5-star rank not from getting through quickly, but from not misclicking on anything. From only clicking on the items. And I think
that's annoying then.
I think I noticed that I dropped down to 4.8 when I had misclicked. And there's a couple of items that I thought I had clicked, but it
That's why I
hadn't
said it was annoying.
quite got it, and I had to zoom in to then make sure that I had got on them. That's my only gripe with this, is that there seems to be, you know, the hitbox around the item
Isn't
in
great.
some of the cases is quite finicky. And there was one which was a
Mop?
what was it? It was like a pitchfork. And
Yeah,
so
sorry,
I tried to click on the
shafted
handle.
object.
I tried to click on the handle.
Yep.
Just missed it by, I don't know, a few voxels, and it didn't count. I'm like, oh, brilliant! I'll just zoom into it and then click it. And I didn't think anything of it at the time. And then when I saw the multiplier, yes, then I kind of clicked that I think it is to do with. I clicked that it is clicks.
So that makes me less enthused then, because I thought it was time based. Because one of the things I like doing, like this is just personal, like I like looking at the thing without touching a control and be like, can I find anything? Because that also sort of lets me absorb the general layout. And it's like, yeah, found a couple things, like I was saying at the top of the segment. But the hitboxes are kind of bad from eagle eye position, and so it's like, oh, there's the rat, click, nope, missed it, click, nope, missed it, click. I found like, and that's like the exact opposite, because actually in the first like 3 seconds I saw the thing and I clicked on the thing, and now I'm getting penalized because I didn't hit a control before I like. So that's, but luckily, flip side, the thing I said before you said this was, I kind of don't care about the score, so it's fine. But I suspect there's someone like me in the sense of getting tripped up by the hitbox because you're trying to sort of minimize the movements until you get a sense of things, but also wants to play the score game, and then that must be incredibly frustrating, because I hit a lot of things have bad hitboxes from like 3/4 to full out zoom out. Some of them you just like because they're just small, but also it's just like, if I'm looking at it, like especially the longer objects like the pitchfork or whatever, it's like the tip of my mouse cursor is clearly on the handle. I know, because I clicked 3 times and I got 3 poof clouds. And then I just zoomed in and clicked on it, but it's like I shouldn't have to zoom in. I'm clicking on the thing. But I guess it's the balance between that and someone just like madly clicking.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that the score, the multiplayer and stuff like that, having randomized object placement. That it can't be just like, okay, I remember where everything is, go into the level. If it was a speed-based thing and just be like bop bop bop, whereas this actually like, okay, to get the high score, you're actually gonna have to put some work into it. So that's interesting. But as you say, the score thing, not for me. It's just like, I was like, oh, these are numbers. I'm just enjoying like the relaxing, just being in those little diorama worlds for a bit. So yeah,
nice.
But I could see how if you're going to be the speed champion of Out of Sight, that would be very frustrating.
But again, I feel like it's not a great match, but I like that they're allowing for that type of gameplay.
Absolutely. So to round out, Out of Sight by NinjaDuck Games.
Yep, I think it's the sole developer called Adam. So
I think
for the codes, Adam.
Cool.
Yeah,
and
really enjoying it. I want to get back to it.
Yeah, soundtrack's by Purple Cat. Double R. Purple Cat. Which makes sense, right?
Indeed.
Yes, good. Let's open up some more drinks if everyone is ready. Lucy, we will come back to you first.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that cider.
Good.
Could be the winner. Who knows? Yes, I bought a beer from Fractal. Wait, no, that's the name of the beer. Who did I buy it from? Equilibrium Brewery. Who are in New York.
Yeah, a little American brewery.
Bought this from Left Field Beer, who are in Birmingham, and they get quite a few overseas beers before Brexit and now after Brexit. So yeah, they got a good range. So I think they deliver to all of the country now. For free if it's over £65, I believe. So, plug the local Birmingham suppliers. Yes, this is called Fractal, and it's a Motueka Galaxy IPA. On the can it says Simple Complex IPA. Which one is it? Is it simple or is it complex?
Oh, that bothers me.
I don't know. Yeah, it says. Can you see it? It says
Yeah.
Simple,
complex IPA.
Yep.
I mean, it's a little blurry, so it kind of looks like Stigma Complex IPA.
Well, I can see it, and my eyes aren't that bad.
Yeah.
It definitely says Simple Complex IPA.
I mean, this is the problem with just feeling like you need to put words on things.
I don't know what that means, but let's have a look.
Sometimes no flavor text is the right flavor text, is what I'm saying.
This is just how I should drink it if I'm pregnant or driving.
Yeah, don't do either of those things.
Oh, it says refrigerate at 38 degrees Fahrenheit, so it tells you.
In English, please.
That was in English. You mean metric?
These Fahrenheits.
Yeah, he means in EU is what he means.
Yeah, there's no flavor text that I can see. It's just an IPA. That is simple and complex. So.
Good. I'm glad. We shall see what it is like. Aadil, what is your second beer for the evening?
It's a beer. It is this beer. Lucy had it, or talked about having had it a few weeks ago. It is from the new Bristol Brewery. It's the Twice Upon a Time Double IPA. It is a sultry 8.5%. It contains barley, oats, and wheat. The allergens are in bold. It is vegan. Ah, there we go. Sorry, I was like, I couldn't find. I was like, I know I found flavor text. Why can't I find it? It's in a 440ml can. A hop lover's prize catch that's as beautifully balanced as it is big, with just enough sweetness of body to make the long game a pleasure. Drink it in your favorite place. Store cool. Drink fresh. Taste is big, dank, and tropical. The hops are Strata, Mosaic, Citra, and Idaho's 7. So another fairly hopped, multi-hopped beer. Yeah.
Good. I, on my small, very fast trip to the bottle shop, or not even to the bottle shop, just to a store, because I had other groceries that I needed to buy this evening. So I picked one that I knew had some nice craft beer in. I also went for a new Bristol Brewery beer. Not remembering the one that you'd had, I kind of randomly picked, and I grabbed an IPA, 6%, What Time Is Love, which has a little bit of flavour text. Oodles of lush tropical flavours with a soft pillowy backdrop. A full-bodied and highly drinkable beer. The taste is tropical love bomb. The hops are Mosaic, Sabro, and a Quinaut. Sabro and a Quinaut are an interesting mix.
I've had that beer before.
Oh, good.
Ooh.
We shall see.
God, sorry. I got a waft from leaning over to put the can on the ground, which is a sign of a strong nose where you're not even close and you're like, oh.
Yep.
And it distracted me.
Lucy, we'll come back to you for the Equilibrium. We've dabbled in American beers, and they've always been, up there. They've always been good quality beers. What's the Equilibrium? I don't know if I've had anything from Equilibrium.
I think this might be my first as well.
Can't remember.
Yeah, it smells delightful. Yeah, Deal, you're talking about just the smell it's giving off. This is just, you have to get your nose a bit closer to it, but it smells lovely. It smells very, very tropically. It smells like it's going to be quite sweet.
Okay.
Or that's at least just what I'm getting on the nose. It's a good looking beer. It poured with a nice one finger, like really white head. Straw in colour, a bit cloudy. But yeah, the smell is gorgeous.
Good. bodes well for what's coming next.
It's very soft. It's very. I mean, there's not much carbonation. Yeah, hardly seen any bubbles. I think maybe coming off the cider as well. It's just like completely in the opposite direction. It's very still. It's not flat, but it's not very carbonated at all. It's not even that hoppy, but.
I think that's definitely a trait of at least kind of New York brewers, just having a very, very soft mouthfeel to them.
Still water from the US.
Stillwater artisanal.
Stillwater.
Yes.
It's like still water.
So Ben,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you recall episode 232.
Yes.
Where we talked about Solitary Conspiracy.
Yes.
And you spoke about the Dreamwave Inception from Equilibrium Brewery.
Oh, good. I'm glad you checked.
I was super curious. I'm like, I swear I've heard this semi-recently. And the thing is, I was like, it might have been me. And I don't remember anything about this. And then I was like, good. I mean, I probably would still not remember anything about it, but now it's on Ben. That's so much better for me.
I'm glad. I'm
usually very good at remembering Ben. So
that's
you're allowed one off. Stillwater. Where's Stillwater from? Is it from? Did I see Baltimore? Baltimore.
Stillwater. Okay. Google it quick. Stillwater.
Oh yeah, I didn't do that search. The search that was like actually helpful for the conversation.
But yeah, it's very soft, but it's still getting those. As I say, it's not flat. It's just very
Baltimore.
Very okay, Baltimore. Okay. Yeah, this is gorgeous. Like it just tastes really good. It's not as sweet as I feared it would be. Maybe it's just like it's getting a little bit of maltiness, like a bit of like little caramel maltiness at the end, but it's not overwhelmingly malty, which is because it kind of reminds me of like a old school West Coast IPA, where it's like got that malty backbone, still getting a little bit of bitterness, but this is more fruity than that and less hoppy.
What was
the
just
ABV
that malt
on reminds me of that.
I forgot. You said, but I think you did, but I just...
6.8%.
Okay.
But yeah, it's really easy. Really
nice.
Yeah, it's sort of why I asked, because I was like, it sounds like it's deceptive.
Oh yeah, you could knock this back thinking it's like 4%. You know, I'm just like, oh no. Yeah, you're not getting any of that alcohol. Like that sweetness, I think, is coming from the malt rather than like the ABV and the alcohol. That's so good. It's just got so much flavor in it, so much tropical flavor, but it's not even. It doesn't feel like a massive fruit bomb at the same time. It's sort of got like just this nice mango-y, maybe slightly peach flavor to it, but yeah, it's just soft and easy. It's probably light to medium bodied, and it's just so quaffable. It's like the cider I let sit for a while because it's like got all the flavor that I needed from that after a few sips, and it was just very nice. It's something that you'd sip throughout the day, but this is. I want to drink this because it just tastes so nice.
Nice.
I want to go back for more, not because it's dried my mouth out or anything like that. It's because it just tastes so good.
Yeah, yeah, that's fair.
I'm really impressed with this.
Nice, good, good. Keep drinking it, and we'll jump to two new Bristol Brewery beers. Aadil, we'll jump to you first for the double IPA.
Oop. Apologies, listeners. I definitely clipped the microphone with the pint glass. It is hazy, almost like juicy, I would say, looking. It's just like, if it wasn't for this top bit with the head, it just looks like a really puree full mango juice or something.
Yes.
Just in color.
Yeah.
It does have tropical and slightly sweet citrus, but mostly just sort of sweet tropically nose. I want to say I said the word mango. Now my brain is saying mango, and then I second guess because I said mango before. But I'd say some mango and a little bit of passion fruit on the nose.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's something a little deeper. I can't quite pinpoint, but Sorry, I'm just taking a moment to swish it around. Holy shit! Sorry, I just remembered this was like 8% or something.
Yep.
This is 8. This'll fuck you up. I'm saying because it's not 8.5%. I mean this in the most polite and specific way, because as I was swishing, I was like, "Oh, this is really tasty." Ah, man, I could have another one right afterwards. I want to explore this. There's a really interesting maltiness, sort of on the backbone, that has a moment during the finish that kind of comes out. Just give it a little bit of biscuitiness. But primarily, you just got this sweetness, I think, probably from the 8.5%. And actually, I like the fact that the tropicaliness is mostly in the nose. It's kind of more understated. So it's much more... this is why I think it's dangerous, because it tastes much more like a not-in-your-face IPA. There's a slight bitterness, ever so much dankness, a really interesting maltiness that surprises me but helps bring things together. And then it's lightly tropical. It's a very drinkable, casual IPA. Oh, wait, it's 8.5%. And I mean that in a really good way, in the sense that, like, I really like the balance of everything. And I think it's because it's so well balanced that it's kind of deceptive. Because usually an 8.5% beer, you're like something that's trying to cover it up or something that isn't, i.e. it's just real sweet. It's that sickly sweetness that is a stronger beer. And this is just, like I said, it's a bit of tropical, a bit of malty, a slight bit of dankness, and then the sweetness from the alcohol. But they're all kind of gelling together in a way that isn't like a mash. Like, you still notice all those things. I can tune into them. But overall, it's just like, this is good tasting, slightly tropical IPA.
Nice.
Normally, good tasting, slightly tropical IPAs. Yeah, I have 4 in a session. Right? Like, that's, I think, the thing I was saying, well, this will fuck you up. It's just because it fits in the slot of a beer that normally is like 4%. And is doing it at double that percentage, and it's doing it really well, and it's very tasty, and I suspect that extra alcohol is helping stitch things together, but also is kind of dangerous.
Yeah, I know the feeling.
I love this dangerous beer.
So, Lucy, you had this weeks ago. Do you remember? I mean, it's fine if you don't. I don't want to put you on the spot, but
no, I do, because I really enjoyed it. Because I fully agree. You couldn't taste the 8.5%. I thought it was really piney, and I really liked that about it.
Yeah, I guess that's the sort of bittering middle bit.
Yeah.
I think what's interesting is that usually this type of strong beer that's piney finishes piney, but the piney is kind of in the second to last place, and the finish isn't as piney as, like, there's like a piney moment, at least for my taste. But it doesn't finish super piney, which is why I think it's dangerous, because usually when, like, if something finishes piney, it's kind of bitter, and you're like, oh, right, this. And actually, it finishes kind of sweet, which makes you kind of just neutral ground. You're like, oh, right, I had this thing, and I'll have another sip. Versus, oh, I'm in the finish of a beer, I'll let that pass. And, like, it's dangerous because, like, it finishes so lightly, I think, is what I will add. It's you're right. I think I may understated how piney it is, but it's because it doesn't finish that way, and normally this type of beer finishes where the pininess is the end. It's
I think I got a bit more, like, I think I realized that it was 8.5%. Like after a bit, like I think I still got that like kind of warming booziness.
That makes
So
sense.
yeah, I was like, this. I can tell it's strong, but at the same time, it's not strong in a sense. It's a strong in the back of my mind, my subconscious. Don't drink this too quickly. but in terms of taste, it's like yes, I can
really
see why
easy.
this would be. But yeah, the tags that I gave it on Untapped was tropical, dank, piney, and strong. So basically what you said, Aadil. So,
Nice.
yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Good.
Really good beer.
Good.
I just want to quickly go back to this Equilibrium. Just like I think the water quality is just so good. I think that's what gives it its like softness. It kind of reminds me a bit of like Daya or Verdant or Polly's. What are they called? Local Polly.
Yeah, Polly's.
Yeah. Probably more so Polly's.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's what this is reminding me
You're
of.
saying that the Welsh are importing New York water, or vice versa?
No, I think
somewhere in the
what she's
Atlantic.
saying is that they should rename New York to New Cardiff. Or New Newport.
I mean, New Newport would be good. It's already been, what was it, New Amsterdam before? Just change it on a 100-year basis. It's fine.
Yeah. If I had to give a UK equivalent, I'd say it's probably most like Polly's.
I mean, that's high praise.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. It's really good.
Good.
I want another one.
I now want to find more Equilibrium, and by that I mean any, because I think I have. I don't think I've had one, or if I have, it's been off the podcast, which is possible but not plausible.
I mean, it's simple but complex.
Whoa, everyone, hold. Do you actually buy the like?
I'd say it's simple. I'd say it's complex in how well balanced it is. There's obviously a lot going on under the hood, but it's simple in just how good it tastes. It's like you give this to someone, it's like they don't even have to think about it. It's good.
Right.
It's great. So
I mean, that makes sense. I feel like that's. Yeah, I've definitely had beers that are simple and complex, but it's a weird thing to put on the tin.
Yes.
It's a fine thing to say, like, in a discussion, but be like, it's this, but not this.
Yeah.
But
you'd imagine that something that tastes so great has to probably be a bit complex. They probably went through a few recipes to get something this good.
But also sometimes, like,
just magic and it just happens.
Well, like you have a single hop beer and it's just like literally simple and tastes amazing because they've figured out how to balance the right level of that hop. And I guess that's sort of where it falls apart. It's like, is it because it's like simplicity in ingredients but complex in like taste? Because like a really good single hop beer, for example, like is complex because you get to taste the different points on the taste curve of this hop and what this hop is doing and how it's interacting with this malt maybe, or or how it interacted with the yeast. And like it's simple in the sense of very minimal ingredients, but complex in the sense of what you get out of it. And then you can have the inversion of that, right, where you have this like blend of a bunch of different things that are like it's complex because the brewer has had to puzzle piece everything together, but actually it ends up being more uniform in taste or more straightforward than you would think. But I still think it's weird PR move. Like I kind of understood what they were going for when they said it, but it's like that's just not helpful unless you're some beer twat. And then then you're like, are you complex in the simple way or are you simple in the complex way?
The beer's called Fractal, so maybe that explains. But yeah, Motorway and Galaxy, I think they just work really well together. So
nice.
Oh yeah, I haven't had that pairing in a while.
I do have a single hop Motueka Arbor sat in the fridge.
What's it called?
I don't know.
I think it's just called Motueka.
Yeah, I'm sure I've had that one.
Because
it's
Arbor, right? If it's a single hop beer, they just call it the hop.
Yeah, you're right.
I think.
Well, no, isn't the Azak Attack just Azak?
Maybe. I don't know. Pass.
What
Welcome to
color
the
is the
weeds.
can? Is it purple or is it?
No, it's green. I think it's green.
Or is it green?
I think it's green.
I'm sure I've had that one anyway.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I have as well. I just
Yeah.
it was just
Yeah, I
another
think
nice
it's a
beer
common
to
one.
pick up.
Yeah.
I bought 4 instead of 2 for this evening. But one of the beers I did buy for this evening, the What Time Is Love, 6% IPA from New Bristol Brewery. I've already cracked into. I've already poured the rest of the tin into my beer, so I only have a third of a pint left.
Nice.
It gave me a nice piney nose to start with, a bigger nose than the Newtown Park, a bigger nose than I got from that. And this combination, I'm absolutely getting the Sabro and the Equinox through this as well. So you're getting that coconut, that tropical kind of, not quite tropical, but that big coconut kind of flavour, but it's really, really piney. And that works. That works very, very well. Like, I didn't think it would, but it does. It really works. And it kind of, again, similar to the Newtown Park, it presents almost all at the same time. So you're getting a slightly sweet coconut flavour sat with this lovely, bitter, piney undertone to it. And the coconut fades a little bit quicker than the pininess. Pininess? Piney flavour.
The pininess.
Pininess.
Pininitude.
And pininess. And it just, that sticks around just that little bit longer. So I'm left with this nice, actually lasting. This isn't as dry as the first bit, so it lasts that little bit longer, and that piney bitterness sits with me, and it sits and sits and sits and sits, which is really, really nice to have that long finish on this beer, and lovely to have that first kind of hit of flavour, and then peter out into this. Peter out is probably the wrong term. That sounds like it's disparaging, but it's not.
Yeah.
It fades nicely into just the piney bitter finish. Very, very easy. I think we're all talking about slightly higher beers, which don't show their ABV. I think you'd peg this definitely at about 6%. That piney bitter finish does elevate it. It's got a lovely mouthfeel, a lovely quality to it. Feels full. It's not thick. But it's not kind of switching to that sort of oily side. It just has this full mouthfeel to it, which is very, very nice. So very, very well made beer. Using a combination of hops which I wouldn't usually, or I wouldn't associate being put together, which is great to have that different flavour that I haven't had previously. So
it's always good considering how much we drink.
Absolutely, yeah, completely. Good. Let's drink these. Let's almost finish them in my case, and move on to probably only one more topic this evening. But I think it rolls into both what Aadil, you and I have been playing, and what I wanted to talk about last week, which, in a nutshell, is no.
Yeah, bye, Lucy.
No, not at all, Lucy. What I wanted to talk about last week was comfort in video games, right? I put an article up on Out of Lives about the comfort that Final Fantasy VII Remake gave me this time last year, released a year ago, which seems absolutely nuts. But I got so much comfort from that game. A little bit of the nostalgia factor to it, a little bit of having something constant and playing through something slightly bigger through, through a bit of uncertainty in life, through that initial period of kind of lockdown. But Aadil, you and I have started Final Fantasy XIV, which is, again, a Final Fantasy game, but an MMO, a massively multiplayer online RPG. And
I just have to interject for a second.
Massively multiplayer role-playing game. I'll say it all.
Oh,
you've gone.
Oh.
You interject, but you don't.
You
interject, but actually you go away. Hello.
What was that? Sorry. Everything went blump to me.
Your internet has had some fun today.
It's been shit. I was recording a game, which I really enjoyed, and I will definitely talk about next week because I will play more of it. My stupid comment that's now become a thing because of internet blipping was I find the acronym MMORPG really fun and ridiculous because it shows how dumb we are with language. Because
Absolutely,
everyone says massively multiplayer online RPG.
Yep.
But like, is RPG rocket propelled grenade, or is it role playing game?
Yes.
Because I want to play a massively multiplayer online rocket propelled grenade.
Just tons of them bouncing around everywhere.
No, it's not MMORPGs. Somehow it's just
Ooh,
one, Ben.
I think that's a battle royale.
You could say grenades as the G. I'm just being a dick.
Yes.
Don't at me.
The massively multiplayer online role-playing game, Final Fantasy XIV, has it has given me that same kind of comfort that Final Fantasy VII did. I didn't realize how much I missed an MMO, and I didn't realize how much I missed a fantasy Final Fantasy setting. It has just hit that right spot for me at this time, and it does a few extra things. It shakes up the kind of the MMO a little bit differently, and I've gone and watched the No Clip Final Fantasy XIV documentary, which came out in 2017. It's like the only No Clip thing I haven't watched at this time, I think. But I've gone back and watched it, and
I didn't know they did one.
Yeah, and I knew that it had come out and it had been stopped, and it had kind of come back out as a Realm Reborn, and the kind of mythos around that. But it was interesting to go and see the actual development side of the team talking about that and going through the process and the changes that they've made and what happened during that time. Really interesting. But the game itself is just
also, it's crazy
comfort.
because that kind of doesn't matter to the average player base, because it got reborn in 2010, 2011 or something like that? Like,
No,
it
came out in like 2011 and got reborn in like 2013, 2014, something like that. Might have been a bit earlier than that, to be fair.
It came out in 2010.
Yeah.
I thought within a year it had reborn.
No, I think Reborn came out about 2 years afterwards, but they cancelled it, or they closed the servers about 18 months after.
Oh, 13. Yeah. So Realm Reborn came out 2013. Sorry.
Yes.
I didn't mean to derail. I just think what I was trying to say was just like, for the longest time, it was like an interesting thing because it was the first time a developer and publisher, especially a big one, was like, oh, we fucked up and we are going to fix this. And it's going to take a while. Because it was like, so they rebooted all the mechanics and the plot. But what's really, really cool is it's called The Realm Reborn because the premise is a calamity happened in the world, and these warriors of light came, standard Final Fantasy thing, and saved them. But for some reason, anytime anyone tries to remember them, their memories fade to light. They cannot see a face, but they know that there were these group of people who saved them. That group of people is you in the original rendition of the game.
Mm-hmm.
And the calamity is, fuck, this game is broken. We're going to we're just literally going to destroy the world, and the world will have new rules when it comes back. And part of the plot of the new world is that the world rebooted with new world rules. So if you were a person who played the game, it made sense to transition, but also just is a very juicy, interesting plot thing.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's been like 7-8 years since that happened, and A Realm Reborn is just how most people who play the game think of it, and it's become plot, just generic, just an interesting take on the Final Fantasy crystals, summons, etc. Because the end, they literally had a giant worldwide event where there's a huge battle, and the moon turned into Bahamut, and Bahamut killed everyone, and there was never a chance anyone could win, but you didn't know it at the time because they were rebooting everything, and it's such a interesting way. and like laudable and fascinating narrative versus development dovetailing.
Mm.
But
that
also
the actual Goat Man, or is there a Final Fantasy Bahamut?
There is a Final Fantasy Bahamut. Yeah, it's big
Bahamut in
dragon.
Final Fantasy
Big
is
dragon.
it?
Not the goat guy.
No, he's a giant dragon. He's always a
dragon.
giant dragon in Final Fantasy.
Just checking.
Dependent
Yeah.
on the Final Fantasy, there's Bahamut, there's Neo Bahamut, there's Bahamut Zero. I mean,
Depends on which game.
yes,
Yeah.
depends on which one.
Okay,
Come on,
okay,
Lucy.
just
Come
Come on,
Bahamut then.
Lucy. Aren't you up on your Final Fantasy Bahamuts?
So is it? So it's the lore that's. I don't know anything about Final Fantasy or the MMO.
Like with
Game.
Final Fantasy, there are kind of like core themes, which sort of always transition through different games. So, like 7 isn't related to 8. 8 isn't related to 9. They're not related to 10, 11, 12. But then you do get like 10 and 10-2. And 13 and 13-2. So some of the games do have sequels, but they all have consistent themes through them. So sort of the use
So
of
is it those
crystals.
themes that are like? Is that your comfort rather than like
So it's both.
similarities in gameplay?
No, so it's
or-
both. So for my comfort with 14,
Thanks.
it is both. It is the Final Fantasy themes, but it's also my love of MMOs and
Yeah.
the amount of I've played EverQuest, I've played Ultima Online, I played a lot of World of Warcraft, played some City of Heroes villains. There's a lot of MMOs which I have dabbled in, which I have really got into. And it is both. It's having that MMO. I played a lot of Final Fantasy XI as well, which was the first Final Fantasy
My
MMO.
favorite MMO of all time.
And it's just both of those elements, which I just find really comforting. That I can just get into this game, and be like, "Yeah, I'm just going to go and do this." I know it's easy. I understand how this works. I can go and do it, and it just gives me a sense of joy from it.
Yeah, I completely get that.
Yeah.
Like that's what mood I'm in these days. Like I was playing Castlevania Aria of Sorrow, which I alluded to last week. That's a good game. I played that, and I was going to be like, okay, that's enough for the Wii Virtual Console for now. But I just loaded up Metroid Fusion. I knew I shouldn't have taken the second dopamine hit right after, because there's only so many of these Castlevania games or Metroid games to go around, and I was like, maybe spread out the cocaine throughout the year. But I was just like, I need another bump.
Just have it.
I
all
need
day,
another
mate.
bump
This
immediately.
fucking year, you do it all if you can.
Yep.
So it just rolled straight into Metroid Fusion. It's just like, yes, these are my comfort games. It's just like, I just want to see this map unfold.
Good.
Discover. Even though Metroid Fusion is very linear, but it's like being back at home. It's like, I know, okay, I know all these power-ups. I know where the secrets are going to be. I know where the wall meat is. I know I know which wall is like a false wall, and I can just hack through. It's just like, yes, it's so good.
Nice.
So yeah, that's what I've been playing
Well,
recently. So I completely get that.
We'll jump to you in a second, Aadil. But for me, like, I don't experience that kind of this level of comfort in a game very often, and Lucy, going back to that and experiencing that for the last few games that you have played, is this something that you kind of try and get in once a year, or do you just find yourself going back to it on a regular basis?
I just find myself like just going back to these games is not exactly the right term, because a lot of these games that it's like I only played a little bit of, or it's the first time me playing it. Like, I've never played Castlevania Aria of Sorrow before, so
Yep.
And Metroid Fusion is mostly new to me as well. So, but they're the same formula, like so it's just very much like I mean, these are the games that I grew up on. These are the games that I love, and it's just like, give me that.
Yeah.
Just right into my veins. So I get it. It's like I do not have that attachment to MMOs because I've never played one, and I don't think I'd ever play one. But I get that. It's like, yeah, you just need that comfort, and yeah, the Wii U. It's like playing on my Switch. It's like I just play it on the tablet in bed in the morning and in the evening. So yeah, I'm probably just gonna like roll into sort of a few more games on that library. But I was just thinking like, oh, I have Donkey Kong Country free to play on my Switch now as well. So I love those games.
And I suppose with having that style of genre as being that comfort for you, you're quite lucky in a way that a lot of newer games lean into that. You know, they try and capture that level of kind of not just the Metroidvania elements of those, but they lean back into the aesthetic, into the sort of the soundtracks and things like that. So we're getting modern equivalents of those as well. So you've always got a kind of a steady slate of new titles that are trying to vie for your attention, but that you're at a level that you can sit there and be like, yeah, this is absolutely hit that kind of bar for me in terms of me feeling that comfort with this game. And yes, it's new lore and new characters and all of these sorts of things, but so much of this reminds me of X or Y, you know, Castlevania or Metroid or whatever, and just be able to have that on a repeat kind of basis.
Absolutely. Like I'm just waiting for that next Hollow Knight game. I really want that. But yeah, because even like in these new games, I just find like I know where the secrets are just because they've obviously played those games. They designed those to the same tune.
Such a nice and like more subtle than you give it credit for, to like feeling of like, I'm good at this because I'm good at these, not I'm good at this because I'm good at games. Does that make sense? Right?
Yes.
Like it's just like, oh, I know these ones. I've played enough of these ones. I get it.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I'm terrible at games, and
false.
I find most
completely false.
Yeah, I find Metroidvanias, and people are like, that was hard. I was like, what?
If you say you're terrible at games, then I am lower than terrible, and I'm okay with being terrible. I just don't need to make it worse.
2D games I'm okay at. 3D, maybe not so, but yeah. It's just, as I say, with something as linear as, not linear, but just the scope of a Metroid game made 20 years ago is not massive, so it's like they all follow the same you know, theme, and it's linear in that sense where it's like, okay, I know I'm gonna get the morph ball now, so it's like it's just good stuff.
Good.
Just snorting it all every night, you know, just right into my veins, right into my bloodstream. So good.
Nice.
Perfect. Aadil, I don't know whether it's something that you can pick out as well, and you know exactly kind of what your comfort is. I know previously, like, you've struggled with the whole idea of like completionism and things like that, and sort of being like, I want to play these games or I want to play these games. Is there something that just drags you in and you sit there and think, yeah, this is absolutely it?
Oh yeah. I think the answer is Magic the Gathering.
I mean, so you say that, but actually, and I think it's pandemic related. Is the last expansion came out, and I like the cards, and I've watched watched like essentially Let's Plays of people doing it. I haven't played since the expansion came out. I don't know what it is. I've just been like, need a break. I have played Magic on webcam with Spell Table, which is like a online website that like you basically put your camera above your table. But if it can resolve and it's real, getting your lighting is right, but it has a card recognizer, so if you can get it right, the whole point is instead of every time you do a thing be like, hey, what does that card do? Because it's just right, you can kind of click and figure it out, or at least look at the history. But other than that, I haven't really been playing Magic, and I find that very strange. But I think it's pandemic-y. But
Yeah, what is your comfort game? Because you've been playing a lot of different games on stream.
I mean,
Like-
so on stream, it's great because I don't have my completionism, because it's just play this for 1 to 2 hours. This is what I do for Out of Lives, right? Like, I just do this, we get a key, and I play a game. And I like the game, and I don't have to worry about going back to it. So, like, the game, the one that looks like super hot that I can't remember its name now.
Fights in Tight Spaces.
Yeah, thank you. Tights and Fight Spaces. I really liked, but I'm also okay with never going back to it because I get to view it that way, which is very healthy for me.
Yeah.
But right now, actually, Final Fantasy XIV is doing the Final Fantasy thing, because I was like, oh, I miss an old RPG. And actually, one of the things I've done, because Ben and I play on stream on Wednesdays, but then we've also started other characters on a different server. And those other characters, we've kind of done some of the group quests together, but it's like, I've kept going today because actually the main quest line is feeding my itch for Final Fantasy games. I mean, I basically still under level 20 of online, like, of the quest schema, and mostly I just want to be able to unlock these advanced jobs because I feel stupid. But because, like, when one job is at 30 and you never play it again, and you don't want to keep playing the game past 30, which is a weird thing about Final Fantasy XIV because they have classes and jobs. But the other thing is just it's doing that thing that I almost started playing FF12 because the, like, remaster is on Games Pass. And I was like, oh, that sounds like my jam. But actually, between having access to a bunch of different classes and jobs and their own storylines in FF14 and also the main storyline, I'm getting a lot from that. My happy place is kind of JRPG land. One of the things that I just saw today was that Octopath Traveler is coming to Xbox Game Pass.
Oh,
and I didn't finish it on Switch, but actually,
it came to PC, didn't it?
Yeah, it came out on PC like last year. I didn't. Yeah, I was surprised you didn't say anything, Ben. I assumed you hadn't seen it.
No.
But like that makes me think, just because most of my gaming is being done on the PC these days, and I've been thinking about going back to Octopath, but then it's like it's coming to Game Pass next month. I would rather restart anyway. Maybe I won't play it on the Switch, because even though it looks really good on the Switch, like on the handheld version of the Switch, that type of game, like an RPG, I like them because of their epic scale, and I want to play them on a screen. Like, my screen is literally that, right? Like, I use a television for a reason, and it makes my actual day-to-day work sometimes more cumbersome. Doesn't matter. So then, if it's coming to Games Pass, it's like maybe I'll wait and then restart it kind of fresh on the PC version, because I want to go back to it, but it's a lot easier to start regularly, and it's just a new page sort of thing. Yeah, but I think, mostly it's like narratives and gameplay mechanics that are kind of strategic but not intensely difficult. Like, JRPGs are great for, it's this thing, and maybe it's this thing on 3 levels, but honestly, like, if you aren't good at it, just go over there and play for a bit, and you'll be bigger. It'll be fine, which lets you do the narrative. But if you are engaged with it, you can sort of attack the narrative really quickly and make it hard. But if you are not in the mood, you just wander away and grind for a bit. And a well-designed JRPG, or RPG in general, but this is sort of my bread and butter of this type of thing, is you never have to grind that much to, like, outclass an area you might have difficulty with, and it then never makes the next area bad. Like, it's one of the things I really liked about Final Fantasy VII is, by the time, like, the original one, there were just so many cool things to do that I still felt like I was fighting battles, but I never felt like I was fucked. Like, oh, I need to grind over there. And it's because they gave enough side things that were interesting. And some of the other Final Fantasies haven't been that way.
Yes.
And you're like, ah, fuck. Actually, I like the main story, but I can't play right now. I'll have to go over there. I guess this cheesy side quest or this lack of side quest is what I do. And that's sort of my sweet spot. And that's why I think I've been playing a bunch of FF14, not just because, you know, my friend's playing, I'm playing. This is a big deal in 2021. But also because it just hits that sweet spot really well. And I think like their numbers have increased over the past year and a half. And part of that is because you're stuck at home and you're looking for a game. But the other part is just it's a solid MMO experience.
Yeah,
and it's a solid FF experience. And for chumps like me, I kind of like both those things.
No, I've heard like very good things about it. What was the like last like big expansion? Because people wanted. It might have been or the one after.
End something is the new one, isn't it?
No, End is the new one. End comes out
Heaven's something.
Heaven's
so yeah, it's Realm Reborn, Heaven's Sword, Shadowbringers, and then another S1, and the S1s I might have gotten confused.
Yeah, I just remember it was a year or two ago.
Yeah, the one that came out most recently.
That wanted to like nominate it for like Game of the Year awards and stuff because it was like, well, it must have been fantastic. So it seems like it's only getting better despite being 10 years old at this point.
Yeah.
And the other thing is the new expansion that they announced last month, like a week and a half ago. A week and a half ago. Don't at me. It comes out supposedly September, and it's capping off this storyline of all these expansions. And they've said explicitly, and it's called Endbringers or End something.
I think it's Endwalker.
Yeah, Endwalker. There we go. Sorry, I just said something that sounds better because Endbringer sounds more.
I mean, it does. Absolutely, yeah.
But the thing that's really interesting is they've said, we've been doing this for 4 expansions. This is the end of that storyline that we've woven into the last few expansions. The next expansion will be a new story.
Okay.
Which is, I think, a better way than kind of WoW did, where they tried to stretch things out. Because it's like, well, how do we? It's like, we really didn't think people would still want to play this a bunch after level 90 or whatever, and it kind of got stale. And it's like, no, actually, fine. We'll just figure out how to write a story. We're smart. We'll figure out how to write a story with people who are this strong, who went through a thing, which I think is very smart, because especially for a Final Fantasy MMO versus a generic one, because the plot matters, right? Like when you ask people why they like FF7, it's not just because they could cast Knights around and watch a 75-hour cutscene of one summon doing 9999 damage, right? It's because the narrative is really interesting.
Yes.
And
that's an MMO well-paced game.
Yeah, and an MMO kind of struggles with how can I be, well, any sort of service-based game, right, will struggle with how do I maintain please keep playing me with my plot is important. And so they've hit I think they've just I don't know, I haven't played any of the expansion content. I've played it a couple times before, but never got far enough in the game for that to matter. But from like Lucy said, from what people seem to really like the writing there, and it makes sense for them to let the writers finish the story and then deal with what it means to own this game afterwards, rather than kind of dilute the ending for monetary reasons.
Yes. Yeah. And I think they all of these games have learned from past successes, and I seem to remember kind of anecdotally that EverQuest 2 didn't do anywhere near as well as EverQuest did. People didn't make that shift across from EverQuest and its 8+ expansions or whatever that had over to EverQuest 2. I think it was called Titan, codename Titan, which was like World of Warcraft 2 or Blizzard's next big kind of MMO got cancelled, and they decided then to make Overwatch instead, and and continue with WoW expansions. You know, these kinds of things. It's interesting that we're going to this live service kind of thing with games that wouldn't traditionally feel like that. Yet the games that are live services, the MMOs of the world, are trying to expand their lifetime rather than just being like, right, now buy a new game, start again, here you go. It's adding to that constantly, and that's not sort of not part of my idea of comfort. I'm very low level. I don't know how far I'll go through Final Fantasy XIV and kind of what I'm getting from it now, but it's nice to know that there is a ton of things that I can continue to do for as long as it holds me, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I think we don't really have the time to go into kind of the give and take of the free version that you signed up for.
Yeah.
But I think that's a very clever thing they did, which is there are limitations. Probably talk about it in the next couple of weeks, just because I suspect we'll play some more.
Mm-hmm.
But giving an account which ostensibly can play the initial jobs, don't worry about it, until sort of a high level, like you can do a lot of content without paying for it. And the trade-off is as soon as you start paying for the game because you want something that's in the locked off area, you can no longer get to. So it's like on the free pass you get up to level 70, any job, any class, but it has limitations. As soon as you pay once, you no longer get that free pass.
Yeah, you're tied
which I
in
think
then.
which is why I ended up renewing for the month, just because I was like, one of the limitations is you can't party. Someone needs to own the game to party. Ben and I are gonna play together. Yeah, again. I don't want to go into that because I think it'll be better if we spend the time to talk about that in this maybe following week. But it's very smart to give an introduction, especially because like there's a lot of acceleration in the game, and you can get through that interesting plot with almost no real strong effort now. Which I remember when I think I first played this game in 2014, and like there was grinding, like there was like actual gotta to get between the main storyline quests. There was a lot of faff in between, and now they've like between server boosts and items you get and just general like optimization they've done, you can kind of just level any job up via the main quest storyline.
Yes.
Like if you just do those beats, you will be leveling up. And I remember how it wasn't like that, and that makes sense with like my memories of WoW and other games like that, where it's like part of the game is just fucking around in the game, and that's what an MMO is. But what a mature MMO that has lasted 10 years is different.
Yeah.
And I've never really hopped in 10 years later, let alone a game I kind of played for the first half 7 years ago, and I'm coming back and have vague recollections like this is so easy and so quick. Huh.
Yeah.
Good. Anyway.
Good. Let's finish there then for this week, and we will come back and discuss our beers before signing off for the evening. Lucy, we'll come back to you first. I say beers. You had a beer and a cider.
Yeah, I did indeed.
Is there a preference?
Yes. The cider, maybe any other week, might have clinched it. It was really good. I really enjoyed it. But cannot wax lyrical enough about that Fractal beer from Equilibrium. It's like 5 stars for me. It's just so good. It's really soft, really really easy to drink, but it's just got so much flavor to it, and it as I say, it's fruity, but it doesn't go into that realm of where it's just like, this is just like a juice or squash or something. It still retains that beeriness to it. It's still got nice malty backbone. It's still got a bit of bitterness at the end. It's just so good, so well balanced. Yeah, I can't say too many good things about it because
Nice.
I really want to buy this again or just see what else this brewery's doing because I'm really impressed. And as you said, Ben, you know, like the beers that we do get imported from America, usually good because they're not just, you know, it takes a lot to get beers over here, and it's like people are just not going to buy swill from America. So
Absolutely.
it's like,
I mean, it's one of those things where when you get an international craft beer in wherever you are, there's a notion of quality that usually comes with it because it has to be the best of what they offer to get it here and maintain it here. So in some ways, it's easier to pick like an American craft beer than a generic UK craft beer in the UK because if it made it here and someone's consistently selling it, it has to be good enough that people are buying it
exactly
from the US, while the like transportation costs and just the cost is lower. But also, God, I'm gonna have to track down anything by them.
Yeah, I mean, this is just my impressions of one beer, so hopefully they don't let me get it down again. But
yeah,
it's
but
like
also,
this should be couriered on a silk pillow because it's just soft and easy. And, you know, just
I was gonna say also I don't think I've ever been let down by a Lucy recommendation. So
Absolutely.
good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's a knockout beer. So
Good.
Yeah.
Perfect.
But if you're looking for a cider, I really like that cider as well. So.
What was it called, the cider again?
Alska. It was actually on Untapped. They do all sorts of flavors. This one's the cloudy Sicilian lemon. But yeah, it's really, really good, really soft, really easy to drink, very crisp, not too sugary, not gassy at all. Just a really good cider. You know, like premium cider. You just think, this could be a strongbow. But,
yes. So growing up,
it's not. It's good.
Growing up in Canada, we didn't have ciders. We had strongbow on tap at like Irish pubs. And that's what cider was to me, which was why when I moved here, I'm like, there's a big cider culture here, eh? Hey, wow, I just fucked that up. I went straight back to Canada for a second. Anyway, I was just like, cider, no? Like, cider's the, like, trash, right? Right? I just didn't understand, which is funny because I already, like, really liked microbrews and craft brews, etc. So I understood the depth of beer, but for whatever reason, I think it's just because it literally was, if there was a cider, it was strongbow. So in my head, it was just like, cider is that drink, not this variety of drink, that drink. And that drink, not my cup of tea, to mix metaphors. And so I came here and it was like, I like cloudy ciders, and they can be a little jaunty and tart.
A swift education in Bristol.
Yeah. Anyway,
what about your beer, Aadil? Have you got a pick for this evening?
Yeah, and it's not my Pith for this evening, unfortunately. It's my pick for this evening. So competition was Revenge of the Pith from S43 and Twice Upon a Time from New Bristol Brewery. I guess what really cinched it for me is, so this has 4 hops, and this has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hops, and I could tell this had more than 1 hop.
Right.
And obviously I'm being very glib, but like the New Bristol Brewery's Twice Upon a Time, there were some layers, some texture, and I could definitely tell that, it was, I was getting some tropical and some citrus, but also some dankness, and there was just depth to the beer. And for better or for worse, like they might have just been aiming for this. All of the hops in the Revenge of the Pith were kind of like, this was a beer that was, I am a West Coast IPA, and I have this citrus, like this huge puree grapefruit, and then some blood orange to help sweeten it out, so it wasn't kind of too bitter or tart. But all 6 of those hops seem to be like trying to hide themselves to help push this grapefruit blood orange type message, which was good but wasn't so interesting. Like, it's not just that I'm like, oh, there's 6 and I didn't feel like there were 6. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm just saying, like, it seems like the effort that was put into the Revenge of the Pith was to really highlight the interplay between West Coast IPA and these pureed citruses. And it kind of came off as like 2-note because of that. And it might have been well planned or designed such that you weren't distracted by these other things, but ultimately it was just less dynamic as a result. While the Twice Upon a Time, I felt, had moments of dankness and tropicalness and a little bit of citrus, and it's not like, so it still only had 1 or 2 main, like, this is what I'm doing notes, but underneath and behind it kind of had like, it's like the difference between an artist being unplugged by themselves in the street versus having their backup singers and their bassist and their percussionist. Like, it's not that the Twice Upon a Time was trying to do something above and beyond what maybe the Pith was doing. It's just like, all right, here's the IPA play card, but also I'm going to make sure you get that I have these people around and they're just supporting me, and this is just going to make this a more musical experience.
Yes.
And the Revenge of the Pith was kind of like, I'm going to try and hide the fact that they're helping me. And so even if they're doing their job well, it kind of comes off as, these are the, like, it's this voice and this instrument and the rest doesn't exist or doesn't matter, when actually I kind of prefer the wider interesting thing, even if everyone's still unplugged.
Yeah,
I guess,
that's
to
That's
continue
so
mixing the metaphor. But yeah,
No, I enjoyed it.
yeah.
good. So finally for me this week, I'm going to pick the Newtown Park beer. I really liked both beers. Both beers are very, very good, and I would encourage you to pick both beers up. The New Bristol Brewery, that mix of Sabro and Acuanut, really nice, makes a lovely, lovely flavour. It's very, very easy. I just think the Newtown Park is an excellent West Coast IPA. It does that style really, really well, and we get so many West Coast IPAs which try to do the style but shift it a little bit differently and don't quite meet the criteria, let's say, to be a West Coast IPA. This does it really, really well, and it's a lovely combination of flavours as well. As I said, I think when I was drinking it, that you got hit with a bunch of different flavours, a load of stuff going on, and then it fades out into that finish, and it leaves you with that lovely bitter finish to it. And I think with both beers, I would have easily, I mean, I'd have drank easily them both again, but I would reach for the Newtown Park You Don't Have to Outrun the Bear West Coast IPA. So that is my pick for this week.
Nice.
If listener, viewer, streaming friend, you would like to tell us about the beers you've been drinking or the video games you've been playing, you can do so by going to outoflives.net, talking to us on Twitter, outoflivesnet, or tankedupcast. Go to our Instagram, tankedupcast. You can get all of us individually. I am at Nova_47. Aadil is at the Omniarch. Lucy is JuicyLoose9. Stick around with us on Twitch. Lucy, you've still got the Juicy Loose can The juicy can.
I mean, I assume it's going to be like my filthy casual can. That's, I guess it's
just there forever.
Yeah, you can't see it. No, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. If you'd like to talk to us on a very, very regular basis, hit one of us up. Join our Discord. Come and chat to us as well about video games, entertainment products. As I say, stick around on the Twitch. We've got loads of other shows. A Geek Out Weekly, where we chat about a topic generally for roughly an hour. We then do our first looks, where Aadil takes a look at a lot of upcoming and new release kind of games. Our Let's Play Together on a Wednesday, which is us playing Final Fantasy XIV over a Wednesday lunchtime. We are here on for the rest of this month, the month of March. We are here every Tuesday evening for Tanked Up. And then Rodari, I think, is going to come back when he's feeling good to do so and play on a Friday evening. That's everything. That's all of the stuff. If you'd like to join us, if you'd like to appear and come and chat to us about video games and share some beers with us as well, let us know. We can get you on. We can have a lovely time, and it will be lots of fun. Bye.
Yes. Join us.
Oh,
damn.
Shit. Yeah.
Yeah, that's us. We've been Tanked Up. Take it easy. We'll catch you next week. Bye.
Ciao.
Bye.
Oh, Ben.
Just instantly ruined the finish for everybody.
I kind of wish you were a Benjamin, so I could be like, oh, Benjamin. But it doesn't work when you're like, Ben.
www.outoflives.net